Hey guys, Andy here from Mediocre Hobbies, bringing you another hobby tutorial thing, kind of yoki majigger. Anyway, so as you know, the Horse Heresy bug has bitten me quite deeply. I'm in full swing getting my Imperial Fist army built and ready to rock and roll. Obviously waiting for some of the future releases still to drop to really flesh out the force, but I'm getting there. I've decided for this project that I'm going to use all of the cool characters that is possible to use for the Imperial Fist Legion, because I've been reading the entire Horse Heresy series and stuff like that. I have a connection with all of these characters. I know who they are, I know what they're like, I know how they fight, stuff like that, which makes putting them on the gaming table really exciting for me. So my army will have Dorn, of course, and then it will have Sigismund, Polux, and Rann. All of these characters are absolutely phenomenal. They're beautiful pieces to paint and display. Display being the key word for this video. Obviously, 3 of those characters already have stunning display bases so that when you're not playing your games, those models are in cabinets looking really cool. Unfortunately, Rann did not come with a scenic base. Obviously, he's a Games Workshop miniature, all plastic, and he is not like the Forge World character series. This breaks my heart. I think they did Rann dirty, and it's up to me to make it right. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to make a display base which your normal base will sit into, and has a Rann standing proud and tall next to the 3 other characters in my force. And you can obviously use these methods or try this for yourself. Obviously, every single scenic base is going to be completely different. So it's more of a call to arms and a challenge. If you have a character that you love, who represents something special in your army, and you think sitting on your shelf, it would be nice if he stood out just a little bit more, then maybe think about making a scenic base. And if you do, make sure you share it with me. I'd love to see your guys' work. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So the first thing I did is search for a suitable base. Polux is on a 50mm base, whereas Sigismund is on a 60mm base. So I decided to go for the 60mm base because I had an idea of what I wanted to do. I thought a little bit more space would work out better. So the first thing you do is go through your kind of bits boxes, spare scenery kits, anything you have lying around, to try and figure out what you want to do with the scenic base that you create. I grabbed one of these Necromunda sprues with this stunning set of stairs. And this is what I'm going to base my my build off. I didn't know what I was going to do before I went and looked at parts, but as soon as I saw the stairway, I had this image of, same Obi-Wan and Anakin having the high ground kind of jobby, of Rann on the top of the stairs looking down as Marines are trying to charge up and kill him, and he's just butchering them as he's walking down the stairway.
It's over, Anakin! I have the high ground! You underestimate my power! Don't try it! High ground!
So I cut it to a more appropriate height. This would have been too tall as a piece, so I cut it down to 3 steps. The spare pieces are really good because I used them to be the side parts of the stairs in a little bit. I got a bit of the flooring section to have kind of a larger area for Rann to stand on. And once I held that there, I was like, okay, this is kind of what I want to do. How do I go about doing this? So obviously I need to cut a hole in this plastic to try and make that fit. So what else are you going to do? I'm going to use power tools. So I have these big circular cutters, and they're pretty much perfect for a 32mm base. The only problem I have with them is that the dimension of the actual cutting piece is too fat. So it's going to leave too much of a gap between the base and the scenic base, if you know what I mean. I was okay with this. Once it was all filled in with black and stuff like that, your brain doesn't see it, doesn't pay attention to it, so it's a-okay. If you guys have any idea how I could have cut this out a little bit closer to the actual circle, I'd really like to know what you guys would have done. I wanted to keep it super round, super smooth, and that's why I went for the cutting piece. But as you can see, there's quite a large gap between the base and the thing now. That's what I was talking about, and that's to do with the width of the actual bit itself. This didn't discourage me at all. I still think it looked pretty cool. It gave the illusion of Rann standing on the flooring, and obviously a piece that would be easy to take in and out for gaming purposes. Any roughness could be, of course, fixed up in kind of post. So the next thing I need to do is to kind of cut off the back section, because obviously there's overlapping, so look like a diving board off the back of the base, we can't have that. So I cut that away.
I used the spare bit that I cut off just to boost the height underneath. That's going to get completely covered up by other stuff, but it just meant that when I put the base on, it would sit pretty flush with the raised stairway. It actually worked out pretty well. Obviously we're going around a bit, so I'm going to have to do something to stabilize that. Which wasn't too bad. I mean, I found out ways to smooth it all out. And smooth finish filler is one of the things I went to fill all the gaps. I spent a little bit more time adding a few extra pieces to the base. I had those side stairs like I was talking about, and that's pretty much it actually. And now it was time to gap fill. Now, I needed to basically fill a lot of space underneath the stairs to try and make this thing smooth, so that's why I went for this filler. It's a very quick drying, so after I applied this, I only had to wait 25 minutes. I went and got a cup of tea kind of thing, came back, and it was ready to sand. So especially for the bases, you can see the huge gap underneath it. Just push filler in. I'm trying to be kind of polite on camera, that's why I'm using the tool here, but I've used filler 1,000 times before and I use nothing but my fingers to do it with. So in a second you'll see me just give up and just start wiping with my finger, which is just a much easier way of doing it. Filler is not like toxic or corrosive or any of those horrible things that most of the chemicals we work with are. It's quite a safe material. So as you can see, I just push it in, make sure it's in all of the gaps, and then it looks horrible, and then you just give it a quick wipe with your finger. And you can see it looks like an Oreo. I mean, a beautiful scenic base. Nice and smooth to the trim of the base. And here is the mess I made filling in Rann's actual display base. And as you can see, it is an absolute travesty. But that's okay. I can't kind of remove any extra material with my finger here. I needed to support the filler underneath the overhang bit, so I need to have quite a lot in. But that's the beauty of this material. It sets really hard, really fast, and then you can just sand it smooth to remove all the excess material, all the bits that you don't want, and really tidy it up. I don't get it 100% perfect. You could have spent more time kind of adding more filler and then sanding away and adding more filler until it was this perfect thing. I am not that pernickety when it comes to making things. I trust the paint will hide a lot of my mistakes, and I've got the beautiful charcoal black from Chimera Paints that's going to do that beautifully when I get around to that stage.
Okay, the building of this monstrosity is in full swing. We're starting to get some paint on bits and pieces, and while we wait for those bits and pieces to dry, I thought I would take this opportunity to thank you guys for the continued support for my channel, for the Mediocre Hobbies channel and the 365 project as a whole. It means a lot to me, the amount of you guys who take the time out of your day to watch my videos, and I really do like it when people take the time to drop a comment and a like on the videos. I want to say an extra special thanks to all of the people who support me over on Patreon. It is thanks to your guys' support that I can make these videos week in and week out. So thank you guys so much for that support. If any of you guys are interested in joining the Patreon group, there's links to that below. You get certain benefits like getting access to a private Discord server, and which is becoming a bustling community. Everyone helping each other out in there. I really like to see that. So thank you guys for absolutely everything, and let's get back to the video.
Okay, with all those bits and pieces built, it was time to get the miniature sprayed and finally get some paint onto it. Now, I'm going to reiterate now that this is not a painting tutorial. I am going to show you part of the painting process in the video as we move forward, but it is not a painting tutorial, although I do have tutorials on absolutely everything that I do here, and I will say that as I'm going through. So, for instance, as we start on Rann himself, actually I think we believe we start on the base itself. We're going to add some Martian iron crust here, so even that. So I'm going to start by adding some Martian iron crust to the scenic base. This is going to tie it into the rest of my Imperial Fists. They're all going to be on these style bases. As you saw Dorn on the bright red base at the start of this. This is all based on my Martian basing scheme, so a link will appear on the top of the screen now, which will take you to a video which will show you how to do this Martian basing scheme if that's what you want to see. So don't worry about that. It's quite a nice result. I'm really pleased with it, and I've started to apply it to too many armies I think at this stage, but I love the result. So obviously I've used that base material to cover up the hole in the center of the smaller base, and any rough areas you can add some texture to it like that. So that's what I'm saying, using the paints and stuff to cover up any bits you weren't able to do in the building process. I'm now going to start working on Rann himself, and painting Imperial Fists, it's exactly the same steps as my Imperial Fist Legion video that I did as part of the Legion playlist. So I'll put a link at the top of the screen now, and that'll take you to the Imperial Fist video. And I literally just followed exactly the same steps for painting up Rann as I did for that Marine. So there's no point in showing you that whole process here. I will show you little bits and pieces. You know, as you can see, I still start with my yellow contrast. I've placed orders for all the new contrasts, so I am excited for my Imperial Fist yellow contrast. Maybe that will change my scheme a little bit, but I'm very excited to play around with that. After that, it was just after the base coat, it was just time for a bit of silver, a bit of trim. If I hadn't looked at a picture of Rann, I would have assumed that all of the different trim pieces were loads of different colors, like the laurel incentive chest would have been green, the skull maybe gold, and then all the trim silver. It's all silver. I don't know what Rann's obsession with silver is, but his whole armor is silver. It's actually one of the few miniatures where I agree with the internet horde, and I think he's a little bit too busy, a little bit too ostentatious. And I learned this when I started to try and go back and layer up the yellow. It was so hard to just get at the flat armor panels around all the filigree and all the detail. He's just covered in bits and pieces, which was kind of annoying, but it's fine, we make do. So we're going to wash the miniature down now. Apologies, add the silver to the base. Most of my videos don't go kind of jumping back. It's like I'm painting two separate things, this big scene base and the miniature. So I know what the next step on the model is, which I assume we would go straight to, but no, going back and forth, using our time efficiently to get the model done. So like I said, it's time to wash the Imperial Fist, and I go for Nuln Oil to wash it all down. I know it's a very dark wash. I explained this in my Imperial Fist video. After it's dried, it's time to just pull it up with a bright yellow paint. I used the Hobbies yellow acrylic paint for this. Everything else was Games Workshop, but for the yellow I just needed a little bit more strength, something that was a little bit easier to work with. So I jumped in with the Hobbies yellow paint for that. And I think it gives a really nice result. It gives really good coverage. It's quite strong. Same thing here, as you can see, working on the power armor in the back of Rann's leg. I'll pull it in a little bit closer in a second so you can see it being applied and see just kind of how strong and smooth the yellow does apply, even over something that's been darkened down so much with the black wash, sorry. So once the yellow is ready to rock and roll, I just trimmed the rest of the miniature. So red on all of Rann's straps, gold on gold bits, silver on silver bits, the usual, nothing kind of spectacular. Nothing you're not going to learn from the Imperial Fist video. And then, like I said, when I relayered the yellow, it was impossible not to destroy all the base coat work we did on the trim. If I wanted to get smooth yellow panels, I really had to get in there. So I basically going back in and retouching up all of the other details on Rann, as I had ruined it with yellow paint. Trying to tidy it all back up. If I wasn't copying the artwork, I probably would have changed a few of the colors on Rann's armor. Maybe it's because it's the yellow armor and they wanted silver as opposed to gold. Gold doesn't sit very well against yellow. Maybe that's just me. Adding a few extra bits of detail, tidying up the beautiful Imperial Fist symbol with some white. Simple job on such a small area, it's not a difficult thing to paint. Time to go in on his face. Just a quick layering job, one coat. The next skin tone up from the base coat, so I think I used Kislev Flesh. I did indeed use Kislev Flesh, just a touch, tips of nose, bridge of nose, forehead, cheeks, chin, upper lip, that kind of bits and pieces are all I did. Time to start dry brushing up the base. Once again, this has all been shown in the Martian Iron Scheme base, but it's basically a rise of rust and then a bone dry brush after a contrast of orange was applied. Sounds convoluted, but trust me, it looks really fantastic when it's done. And then onto the bone, which really makes that orange pop. We're starting to get somewhere. As you can see, the bone dry brush, I just hit a few of the corners as if it's kind of scuffed and dirty, nothing special. Same on the little base, a little bit of bone in the center of. Now my secret weapon, the Chimera Charcoal Black, is what I'm going to use to clean up all the edges of the bases. So this is a super dark, super matte black, and it acts almost like a diorama framer, if you know what I mean. I've even gone between the steps. Those random bit of filler. I'm just going to fill it in black. Your eye doesn't like to focus on black, so once you fill in parts like this, your eye's not going to notice those white splodgy bits behind the steps. It's just going to see the metallic and the Martian stuff. It's not even going to see the black. And when the base is all charcoaled in, this is what it looks like. And as you can see, like I said, around the smaller base with the black filled in, you don't even notice the big gap. It looks really cool. I painted these guys off screen as well. These are painted using my Sons of Horus painting guide. There'll be a link to the top of the screen how I did this. There's some spare Dead Marines I got a friend of mine years ago who didn't want them on his Angron base, so they worked out perfectly for me. My finished Rann. And now it's time to put all those different bits and pieces together to give Rann, I think, the base he does deserve. And the final result was something that looked like this. And I'm not going to lie, I'm super pleased with the result. I think he'll definitely stand out on a shelf now. You'll definitely get the feeling of how powerful Rann is in close combat. Someone you do not want to mess with. Two Marines charging him up the stairs and he cuts them both down with ease as he's still strolling. His base can still be taken out like normal to be used in gaming purposes. Even then it makes him stand a little bit taller, so he'll stand out in the middle of your army. Looking pretty cool. Slot him back into his base. Absolutely delighted. As you can see, when I put him back in with the other scenic bases from the other characters now, I think he fits in a lot better. So once I have my big shelf with all these blocks of kind of 20-man infantry squads, and then you have these characters next to them, you're going to know who's in charge of the army, who are the cool characters, who have the names, the stories, the ones you want to point at and ask, who's that guy? What did that guy do? What equipment is he carrying? That kind of thing. As you can see, he fits in beautifully. So I'd love to know if you guys think I did a good job on this. I would love to know if there's any points you think I could improve on. I would also love to know if you guys are inspired to try it yourself. Are there any character miniatures you have in your collection, be it Horus Heresy, Age of Sigmar, 40k, anything, and any other game system as well, that you think would deserve a really nice scenic base? Thank you guys so much for watching the video. If you did enjoy it, make sure that you do the usual things that helps me out a lot, which is like the video, subscribe if you haven't subscribed to the channel already, and drop a comment below. These things will help more people see my videos and help me out a lot in the long run. Thank you guys so much for watching to the end of the video. Can't wait to get the other two characters painted up, as well as, I suppose, the rest of my Legion army. And as always, guys, I will see you guys in the next video.